Alright, time for another draftphysics.com video presentation. So I already read a couple of comments, just emphatically asserting, okay, that somehow the opposers, frankly the science deniers, can explain, and they just refuse to, defend their argument with anything. I mean, I'm just asking for some, draw me a picture or show me a physical evidence of any case with any masses of a Newton's cradle where energy comes in from both sides, all right, and it produces something other than an addition of the two momentums. Whatever comes out will be exactly what came in. So if 100 comes in here and 50 came in over here as momentum, you would never subtract the two from each other and say that the end product will be motion in these two objects that will total 50. It won't be 100 minus 50. There's never a minus circumstance. There's no such thing as whatever this is. Now, they're going to use words like vector versus scalar, and they're going to now put words in my mouth and say, I think energy is a scalar. I don't think it's a scalar. I just don't think there's any such thing as negative energy. Energy is always a vector, but it's always a positive arrow. There's no place. I can't draw an arrow in a direction and say this is the negative direction, or this is an opposite direction, yes, but opposite isn't the same as negative or anti. So in most cases, I'd say all cases, it's always real energy. An explosion, half the energy goes this way, half the energy goes this way. It's real energy going both ways. Now, if you measure it over here, yeah, it's only going to be half the energy because the other half is over here. I mean, these are kind of obvious things. If there's a reflection, then it means that the energy didn't go into this object. It means it was reflected, so it comes back the opposite direction. That's the way it happens. There isn't some other energy. There's just the reflection. It didn't get absorbed. So anyway, but back to this. So this is a point, and nobody will explain the point. They're just going to keep telling me I'm wrong, that somehow Newton's cradles do this. So this happens, and only 50 pops out. One of these objects flies off at 50 momentum, and that's it. I say it never happens. I say there's no example of it. I could make it 50 and 49, and what's their prediction? Their prediction is that only one momentum will pop out, that the two objects will almost stop moving. Of course they won't stop moving. Of course I'll have to account for all 99. It could be 60 over here and 39 over here, but it doesn't matter. There will be total momentum will be conserved. I'm asserting that as an absolute fact. Now, all I'm asking them to do is give me one shred of evidence somewhere that Newton's cradles with elastic hard bodies doesn't work that way. If I throw clay at clay, well, then I can get them to stop here in the middle, because we know the energy will be absorbed in deforming the objects. But if they're solid objects, elastic, they don't absorb the energy, they don't deform permanently, then I'm going to get reflections. Just like if I throw a ball at a brick wall, I'm going to get a reflection. If the brick wall moves, if the energy goes into the brick wall and makes it move, I'm going to get less reflection. That's the truth. The lighter I make the brick wall, the less the ball bounces back. To get 100% back, or to get the most I can get back, I have to make this wall solid. I have to make it impossible for it to absorb the energy. Anyway, so they won't argue this argument, and they'll keep telling me they don't have to argue it, they don't have to explain it, they don't have to account for it. And I'm basically just saying, yes, your free energy experiment depends on, all right, this very idea that if I make the energy stay in the system, you made your free momentum in this direction, your free momentum in the opposite direction. You took 100 momentums and converted it into 200 momentums. You have to explain where that extra 100 goes. When they collide, I'm only going to get 100 back. You have to explain how first you created the free energy, But the harder thing to explain is how you destroyed the free energy. And they won't do it so far. In 4 days, there's absolutely nothing responsive to my point. So I'll read a Puro comment, then a Mindless Marbles, and a White Henry. None of them are addressing what I just said at all. They're not taking any account for their obligation to show me that Newton's cradles care about positive direction and negative direction, because they don't. And that's just an absolute fact. All right. So Puro, the moron. It's interesting that his instinct tells him, so again, he always uses this, his intuition, his instinct, some sort of horse shit. When, no, I'm the one actually who's done a bunch of research. I'm the one who's watched all these videos. I'm the one that finds a lot of these videos. So, more lies. Alright. It tells him energy is a scalar. So, I've overtly and explicitly said I don't even have any use for this scalar word. I don't even know what it means. I have no clue what you're talking about. Scalar is an absolute pile of shit nonsense. There's no such thing as anything that is scaling, whatever that is. It's not a real thing. Energy's always made out of momentum, and it's always something moving in a vector direction. Always. Nothing moves in more than one direction. Everything has a vector. Can't say everything doesn't move in more than one direction. That's not true. But whenever something is moving in any direction, it's moving in one vector in that dimension. Okay. It can only move in one dimension. It can move in this dimension, and then it can move in this dimension, and then it can move in this dimension, but it, I mean, well, whatever the other one was. But anyway, but it can't move more than one way in any one sub-dimension, you could argue. All right. Energy is a scalar, so it's just a lie. Okay. No negative energy. Of course, no negative energy. No unnet energy, no anti-energy, no pseudo-energy, no... There's no other kind of energy but a mass moving in a direction. What he's missing, so I'm not... whatever, is the vector-based world where direction matters. Yes, and I'm obviously saying it doesn't. You can't undo energy. There's no anti-energy. So yes, you can move something right and then turn it left, but those are two real actions. They're not undoing each other in any real sense. They're real actions. You have to really spend the money. You have to really turn right, and then you really have to turn left. They're real actions. They're not negated, and they don't disappear. They happened in the universe. That energy is used to create momentum, so I don't even know what the fuck that could possibly mean when momentum actually creates kinetic energy, in the sense that it's made out of momentum. Momentum is the foundation of their fabulistic kinetic energy. Or to fight gravity. Yeah, so fighting gravity is always momentum. Momentum is your weight. So when you put something on a scale, it's its momentum that's pushing it into the scale. It's just a fact. Or to sit in a chemical bond. So again, those bonds are made out of the electrons. That's more of a charge argument, but clearly it's about the attraction and repulsion between electrons and protons, and that creates momentum in electrons and protons. But that momentum is the energy in motion, so I don't even know what that means, but of course all energy is motion. Masses moving is energy. Find some mass moving and you're looking at energy. And the direction matters. The direction matters in no sense that there's no such thing as left being negative and right being positive, or vice versa. They don't automatically undo each other, and the only way they can undo each other is through some circumstantial fact that you're returning them to a previous state. That they are doing, they return something to a state that is the opposite of the state the first action caused. All right, obviously somewhere in the physics, direction has to matter. So yes, it matters, but it doesn't matter in any anti-way. There's no such thing as anti-energy. Because we see reflections. Yes, you see energy go into something. The thing doesn't hold the energy, it gives it back. And that's the simple answer. Now, I've already said this, you can watch the video. There's a video on YouTube where they take two big heavy steel balls and you smash them together. And what they do is they tell you, they put a piece of paper in between and then smash them together, and it burns the paper. And that's because you're not allowing them to bounce. So you're forcing them to vibrate into each other, a million times or more, some huge number of times. And it burns the paper. And then when you use a piece of foil, they can actually see little waves of, ripples, indicating how it is periodic. That the energy goes in and comes back out. It goes in and comes back out. I mean, simple explanations work. Okay. Reflections and changing direction, and so that has to be accounted for. And it's accounted for as it's simply being the material you're trying to move is too heavy. The electrons and protons in it try to move. It doesn't work because they can't move fast enough. Enough of them can't pull each other at a velocity high enough to force the exchange of electrons, and so the body can't be moved because you either have to move all of it or none of it. All the atoms have to go. If there's too many atoms, they can't move at the minimum speed, and so it won't move. So it has to reject the energy. It merely bounces back, like an electron bouncing into a magnetic field. So, fail. Okay. And somewhere we have a scalar concept of energy, a made-up concept in the 1840s that, again, it just doesn't make any sense. You're saying the kinetic energy doesn't have a direction. They're saying that a 10-ton train moving 5 miles an hour down a track doesn't have kinetic energy in a direction. I mean, of course it does. Doesn't make any sense to say it doesn't have a direction. In various forms. It's almost like his intuition. See, so he did it again. Instincts and intuition. I'll just say that, Piro sticks his finger up his ass, and then, that tells him, what to think. I mean, it's just silly. This nonsense. I mean, obviously I've done more research than you have. I know more about Leibniz and kinetic energy than you do. It's just a fact. This isn't about my intuition. It's about the facts, and the research points, directly to it all being a big sham. Have you researched dropping, denting clay with round objects? I mean, it's only a 5-minute video you have to refute on the subject. Go to debate physics and refute the argument made. Oh, it's so rude. Should be telling him that momentum and energy have to be two different things. Why would I ever think that? Why would I believe that? Why do they have to? It's just a silly bunch of nonsense. You fix nothing with your fake energy. It solves nothing. Newton's theory of energy was complete enough. It didn't need any fixing. Okay, when the pendulum comes to rest, so this is the big joke, when it comes to rest, whatever that is, it seems pretty obvious to say the energy is not in some state other than momentum. So what are you talking about when it comes to rest, when it goes up in gravity? So it's created free fall room, distance to fall into, and now it will fall, and gravity will give back the energy it took. It's that simple. Yes, the object had momentum, velocity. It's going to lose its velocity, but it's going to enhance its position. And now it's going to put the boat in the stream, and the stream's going to push the boat. It's not that complicated. You used your energy. I give you a velocity, and I push you upstream. You go upstream, and then the stream pushes you back down. Because the object is still. We know the energy has to be there in the system. Exactly. So where I've actually said absolutely nothing that could be perverted into any notion that I'm the one talking about the system. I'm not pretending the momentum is still in the object when it's standing still. Of course it's not there, but it certainly is in the circumstance. And it's going to have the energy and every bit of it back again. Especially when you're using gravity, because it's a perfectly conservative spring. Gravity gives you back every single bit you put in. Every bit of energy you invest in fighting gravity, you will get back. Okay. But it's not in the motion. Well, it's not really true, right? As I've pointed out, you can lift an object really, really slowly, and you're not going to get that energy back. But if you lifted it at the same speed it would free fall at, you know, if it free fell from the same distance that you're lifting it from, if you lift it at that same speed, then you'll get everything back. Alright, but it's not in the motion. Instead, he says it's in the form of invisible motion. So that's a lie. I never said anything about invisible motion, so just lie some more. I mean, they really can't do anything honest. They can't make a response. They can't say anything that's on the subject. So obviously, nothing here. He's not going to be able to link me to any evidence that Newton's cradles, that elastic steel balls don't perfectly conserve momentum regardless of direction. Total net momentum has to be conserved. And here they are just selling lies to people, promoting an idea that somehow it doesn't work that way when that's absolutely how it does work. It's disgusting. Alright, so mindless marbles. Check my latest community post. I point out he is employing circular reasoning. Momentum can't be negative because there's no evidence. Well, that's a pretty damn good reason to believe when there's absolutely no evidence. That's a pretty good reason to say, hey, guess what? I'm not going to believe that till I see some evidence. So again, he says it's true and he doesn't have any evidence, and that doesn't matter. Okay. And this or that can't be evidence. So where did I say that? I just said, give me a piece of evidence. Show me how Newton's cradles don't work that way. Don't conserve momentum regardless of direction. Newton's cradle couldn't care less, okay, what direction the energy comes from. And there's no such thing as canceling energy in a Newton's cradle. No energy is ever, no momentum is ever canceled. Because momentum isn't negative. It's not anti, it's not un. That's right. It doesn't do any of that phantasmagorically silly crap you think happens in reality. And even less charitably, I'd say he's just doing propositional reasoning, presuppositional reasoning. And again, I'm overtly telling you, just show me that I'm wrong. Show me one single inkling that Newton's cradles don't conserve total momentum, regardless of direction. Just show me one experiment where that doesn't happen. And he won't do that. So here's his community post. Let's see. So he quotes me as saying there's no evidence that this could possibly be correct. Okay, in the sense there's no reasoning or explanation provided for how they both come back together again, how half the momentum just disappears. So that's the simple challenge. They neither explain how it disappears, they never explained how it appears, and they won't explain how this is something Newton's cradles can actually do. So no evidence to it ever being done. Alright, so he doesn't have quotes on all this crap. So anyway, this is his commentary now. This is literally circular reasoning by Gary. The problem with Gary is his incorrect notion of momentum. And Leska's video, among others at this point, demonstrates. So it doesn't demonstrate. Okay, I'm going to show his fucking email if you're going to keep pushing. I clearly point out to him before he made the video, you have to explain how when 150 hits 50 that you end up with 100, because Newton's cradles don't do that. They don't subtract. What comes from the left doesn't subtract from what comes from the right. They add. That's what Newton's cradles do, and that's what you have to explain. So he puts this in capital letters when it's you who can't demonstrate. Oh, you're such liars. Gary's notion of momentum as a scalar is incorrect. So again, I don't think it's a scalar. Whatever a fucking scalar is, I think that's absolute nonsense. I'm certainly saying there's no such thing as antimatter. There's no such thing as this anti-notion. Nothing undoes momentum. You can't undo it. There's no undo button. There's no disappear button. There's no, it's zero. Again, if two blobs of clay hit each other, we know it's not zero action. We know it just didn't, the energy didn't disappear. We can see the clay is all deformed. A whole bunch of matter got moved. We can follow exactly where the momentum went. You have to, momentum has to, it's the Descartesian thing. I've been arguing this for 2 years. Descartes was correct. The amount of energy in the universe is a fixed amount. There's a fixed amount of motion in the universe, and all you can do is exchange it. You can't destroy it. And you can't create it. All right. Thus, you cannot use the notion of momentum as a scalar. So it keeps, I mean, these are just lies. I've never, ever, 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 ever endorsed this scalar word, and I have forever in my videos drawn clear, straight arrows. There's arrows in every fucking video I make. And this lying sack of shit thinks I'm talking about some sort of undirectional energy. No, I'm not talking about any undirectional energy. Liar. Oh, it's just so disgusting that they, they fucking lie about Newton, and they lie about anybody. They're just pathetic liars. All right. To counter-argue against the evidence. So there's no fucking evidence. Show me any example of a Newton's cradle doing subtraction math. Show me one example of that happening. Steel ball comes in, and somehow you get half the steel ball moving out. Okay. That would be circular reasoning, or presuppositional reasoning. So he puts this crap, he's like Brozo, he has to use all these capitals. It's illogical and irrational on Gary's part. So no, it's irrational that you lie about people and then pretend you have some evidence when you have nothing. You have absolutely zero evidence that Newton's cradles don't conserve momentum. Total net momentum. Why is this so difficult to understand this? We have no obligation to satisfy Gary's sensibility. So he's basically hiding. I don't have to provide evidence. That's their standard. We don't have to have evidence. We just have to have faith. They have faith, and that's all they have. It's a religion. Okay. Reality works the way we've shown. So again, they didn't show anything. They didn't show, okay, me putting 150 this way and 50 this way and getting 100 out. They didn't show that. Okay, and the Newton's cradle that Leska presented is valid evidence. He didn't present it. I presented it weeks ago. So lie some more. Okay, nothing will undo that behavior. So again, just a big fat fucking lie that the behavior has been established in any way, and there's a decisive proof against it in the sense that you have to explain why it's not working. Why 150 plus 50 didn't equal 200. Where's the extra momentum gone? Alright, in a subsequent video, Gary now says there's no evidence that Newton's cradle balls behave as if momentum is a vector. That's not what I said. I said there's absolutely no evidence that they subtract. The energy always adds. Okay. But that is literally what is shown. So where is it shown, for fuck's sake? It's not shown because 150 comes in, 50 comes in, and you only get 100 out. How the fuck does that show conservation of momentum? Oh, that's right, it doesn't. So it's just so bad. So Gary is once again outright denying evidence. So this is just such a lie. It's a lie. If it is actually 150 and is it actually 50, you have to establish somehow that Newton's cradles can do subtraction. That if I put 50 in this way and I put 50 in this way, I'll get 0. They'll stop moving. Show me that experiment being done. Show me that happening. Because it doesn't happen, you lying sack of shit. Okay. Like a flat earth pseudoscientist. Okay, so again, these are the people not doing real science, right? They won't defend doing experiments. They won't even admit that their science hasn't done enough experiments, that they haven't established any of these truths, and then they'll just lie about other people. They're the real pseudoscience. They're the real liars, the flat earthers. All right, and lying about what the evidence exists and doesn't exist. So that's just a fucking lie. Where did I lie about what evidence exists? Where is your evidence that 150 in and 50 in a Newton's cradle produces 100 out? Where do you have any evidence that that happens? Ever. In the history of Newton's cradles. That if I put 50 in and 50 in, I get 0. Nothing moves. Liar, liar, liar. Pathetic, disgusting, fucking pieces of shit liars. Alright, speaking of White Henry, another stinking, lousy sack of shit liar. Alright, so I made 4 videos in a row now, at least 4, pointing out this fact. He won't address the fact at all and keeps arguing about his frame rates and this and that. And I keep saying it doesn't make any difference, because you have to explain, if you have 150 and 50 coming in, you have to explain where Newton cradles are capable of doing subtraction math. Because never, in my entire life history, I've never seen a Newton's cradle subtract energy. So you have to show me one doing that. You piece of shit. Okay. Let's see. Then, in response to today's video where he doubled down using the wrong definition of everything, I tried to write, how are you defining momentum? Question mark. It's the same as the energy definition. It's a mass moving in the universe. Not very complicated. The accepted definition that is a mass times velocity. Okay, why would I even read a comment like this, right? I mean, I've been making these videos for 2 solid years on this subject. I clearly know what momentum is, mass times velocity. I've written MV so many fucking times. So, why would somebody find your comment worth reading? It's such a waste of time. Alright, it doesn't depend on weight. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Of course it doesn't. That's why I've been talking about mass, and I've been talking about how weight is actually momentum. That all you have to do is turn a scale sideways. See, this is the lie part, right? Because I've done this so many times, right? I said just put the scale sideways, and you plow something into it at 1 mile an hour, and it will read its weight. So 1 mile an hour equals, no matter what it is, an elephant, or, this pen, I move it 1 mile an hour, let it hit a scale, and it will weigh its mass. These are all videos I've done. And you won't respond to them. You won't honestly paraphrase. And then you wonder why you're blocked. Well, that's why. Because I don't have an obligation to keep correcting liars. Anyway. Let's see if there's anything in here. There's no 9.8 needed in the calculation. I thought we at least agreed that momentum is mass times velocity. So I don't even know what he's talking about, right? This isn't even worth reading. There's nowhere I'm disputing that momentum isn't mass times velocity. All right, a 3 mass with 100 momentum hits a 1 mass with 50 momentums. Right, this is the problem you have. Now let's see what he says to that. Okay, in the opposite direction. Result is that after the collision, there is only 100 momentums in the system. How do you explain that? Yes, that's what you have to explain. Okay, here we go. It happens every time you make a Newton's cradle. So he says it happens. There's absolutely 0 evidence that this happens. So I'm just saying, where does this happen? Show me any instance where the Newton's cradle subtracts what's happening on the right from what's happening on the left. If I put 50 in this way and I put 49 in this way, I only get 1 momentum out. Show me that experiment somewhere. It's not possible. It doesn't happen. You're a lying sack of shit to type this crap and promote an idea that is nowhere near the truth. All right. How do you explain it? Question mark. Try it with your long pendulum if you are worried that the curved path of the balls maybe one quarter. This has nothing to do with measurements. I mean, you don't really have to measure this, right? I mean, 49 and 50 come in and there's only one momentum out. That's going to be pretty fucking obvious, retard. Let's just make it 50 in and 50 out, right? You say it's 0. No, the balls just stop, like they stick together all by themselves. You don't have to put any Velcro. You don't have to do nothing. They just stick to each other because there's no more energy left. That's your theory, fuckhead. God damn. It won't make a significant difference, I promise you. See? I mean, you promise something. What a waste of goddamn breath you are. Okay, so here's another comment. I found a 5-year-old comment on a blog post about DES that sums it up pretty well. So this is what he spends his time doing. So they can't refute my 5-minute videos, but they can talk this shit. And they can look up a 5-year-old comment. But they can't refute the 5-minute videos. All right. For systematically demolishing his and his supporters, so it's not even written well, right? For systematically demolishing his and his supporters' views, I was banned from writing on his comment section. So again, that's his story. I have banned at least half the people I have banned. I've done it publicly. I'm not embarrassed by who I have banned. I'm not at all disturbed. They're clearly trolls. They're waste of time. They're not on the subject. You're not on the subject. Clearly, your comments weren't on the subject. Okay. It's the cowardice and hypocrisy that is the most annoying. There's no cowardice or hypocrisy. You have a channel. You can do whatever you want with your space on the internet. I'll even give you web space if you want it. But I'm not going to I'm not going to waste my time commenting to your comments. If you're going to write lies in comment sections, I'm not going to spend my life unlying for you, okay? Having to do the job of defending myself against a liar. You don't understand that, then that's just because you haven't had to do it yet. Okay, so wait till it's your turn, fucker. Alright, since he dishes it out way beyond what should be tolerated. Dishes what out? Physics arguments. But he can't take it back. So again, it's another lie. I'm sitting here willing to pay people to debunk me, and they won't do it. Okay. He's a lot like Donald Trump. The bully and wannabe cult leader with thin skin who's secretly a pussy. So you're the people I can't pay to make an argument. You can't make videos. You can't... somehow, well, at least Mindless Marbles has figured out he could write things in his community page, so he doesn't have to be a coward, complete coward. Okay. But there's absolutely nothing stopping you making a counter argument to my videos. Nothing stopping you from making a counter video, from drawing, from explaining. Nothing stopping you whatsoever. And you just won't do it because you don't want a fair fight. You want to just troll. You want to waste people's time. Alright, the same is true today, except perhaps for the and his supporters part. The supporters seem to have mostly evaporated. I don't know if that's, a factual statement. There's about the same number. But what they've seen is they're going to get harassed. That's what they've seen. It's dangerous. And it might even be dangerous from my perspective, because frankly I'm pretty demanding that you stay on the subject and you don't say something stupid. But whatever. So these assholes think these comments have done anything to dent the argument I've made now 5 straight days in a row. And any reasonable person would realize, no, they haven't done anything. They haven't explained anything. They haven't shown anything. They haven't demonstrated anything. They've done absolutely nothing but pretensively sit around and say, we're right, we're right, we're right. We don't have to prove it. We don't have to produce evidence. We're the majority. You know, we don't have to be, we're not held to the same standard you are. We don't need to have evidence. You do. That's their bullshit. All right. I mean, I had a little Newton's cradle, you know, years back, but I just don't know where it is. And the strings kept getting tangled. It was a bit of a piece of shit. It was a real little one too, so you know it didn't go very long and all that crap. It needed some work. But really, I'm just saying, they keep claiming that somehow Newton's cradles do this thing, that they pay attention to this minus energy thing, and there's just, I don't know where they have that notion from. They must have seen it happen somewhere, but I haven't seen it happen anywhere in a Newton's cradle. I've never seen a Newton's cradle destroy momentum, ever. And it has to destroy momentum to produce the outcome. 150 in, 50 in, that's 200 momentums moving in the universe. The net momentum has to be denied. It has to be destroyed. 50 have to put the net momentum to satisfy the actual physical outcome. All right. Yeah. Okay. Enough of a video. Such. Well, I did post a comment on physicist Michael's page. You know, just try. So maybe I'll go read that. Okay. So this was his second rendition of the, you know, measuring G, which I don't know for what purpose, but anyway. So anyway, I said, can you link to any visual evidence that in a Newton's cradle with hard elastic spheres, momentum coming from the left cancels momentum coming from the right? Thought that was the best way to describe it, but who knows? You'll probably find that too confusing. Can you show any example where total momentum, regardless of direction, is not conserved? In other words, can the free momentum experiment, one mass colliding elastically with heavier mass, be duplicated with a Newton's cradle? Question mark. If you agree it can you explain why it can't? Okay. Clearly, why would they do the experiment with air tracks if they could just do it with a Newton's cradle, right? That seems kind of obvious. Why would you do it the hard way with the expensive technology when you can do it with the simple technology? All right. So that seems kind of a glaring fact. So, but anyway, we'll see if he'll answer. He'll probably bring up relativity again or some kind of horse shit. It's not a closed system. The fulcrum did it, you know, or some kind of crap. It'll be crap, right? We know Newton's cradles keep going for quite a while. We know the energy is staying in the system. We know it's not leaking out. We know it's not exchanging with the Earth. We know none of that shit's happening. But I'm sure well, we'll see what he says. I won't prejudge. So, till the next time and such. This has been a debatephysics.com video presentation.